We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast with young men. And it's great to have Mary on because she is, she's in the midst, she's in the trenches, tax season. And so it's not easy. It's not easy. So, Mary, I'm curious, what's happened since the last time we've been around? And why are you on today in the midst of tax season?
Oh, so many things have happened. I'm not even sure where to begin. Um, but I had something that I wanted to bring and get some advice on. Um, so I'm like, I think this might be the place to go.
Okay.
So I have this friend, and she has a teenager, and um, a little bit struggling there, and I need some advice or maybe some guidance to give her. It tends to,
Boy or girl?
it's a boy,
Okay, gotcha.
and there's, they made guidelines or, you know, be home by a certain time and in the evening so you can get up, be productive in the morning, go to work, be there on time. Um, but he tends to push the limits
Yep.
and you agree on one time and
Yep.
it's no big deal if he doesn't get home until, half an hour, maybe an hour later,
Right.
and
Right.
has the stupidest excuses ever on why he didn't come home on time that was agreed upon.
Yep.
What advice would you give her?
So with our kids, um, I thought that they during the summer when they weren't in school, thought that they should work 12-hour days, like around the house. They should be productive. Go out and find a job you get paid, or you know. But we're only three, Dad. Doesn't matter. No, it wasn't like that. Not really. But when they're preteens, teenagers, for sure, it's like you be productive. And so then, um, but their mom was not of that persuasion. Their mom was an amiable personality. And so, yeah, not so much. And, uh, and so, what I did with them, Mary, is I said, listen, your dad's going to compromise. Like, I think you ought to work 12 hours, minimum 8 for crying out loud. But, I mean, I worked 12, 15 hours when I was your age, but you know what? Okay, fine. Um, but this is what we're going to compromise. And that is you're going to do 4 hours as long as I don't have to manage you. But if I have to manage you, see, it doesn't take any more energy. It doesn't take any more energy to go ahead and deal, if to make you work 8 hours versus 4, you're going to cop an attitude. So what I want you to do is find the work to do, work with your mom, help your mom. If I don't have to manage you, you just work 4 hours, but you self manage yourself. If I have to get involved, then it's 8 hours. So it's like, for crying out loud, like my dad, when I was, 16 and my older brother was 17, he said to us, I remember exactly where we were. We were in the driveway. And he said to us, he says, boys, you guys are getting to where you're going to be men. So I'm not going to go ahead and you're going to get more freedom. Well, when you have a 16 and 17-year-old boy, 16, 17-year-old boy, we look at each other's mouth and go, yeah, baby, this is awesome. He walks away and then he turns around. And he says, oh, by the way, you're going to have the authority to make good decisions as long as you make good decisions. We're like, really, Dad? Like, really? And so, you know, um, so I would go ahead and, you can, get like it's integrity. Like, get him to when are you going to be home? And I would rather you be home at this time, but fine, I'm willing to have this. I'm willing to have you do this, fine. But you're self-managing yourself. And if you don't make it home, and I don't care for any reason. So our oldest son, he was a creative person, let's say that. And he was not like his father. I mean, Alan Stein, president of Tanglewood Conservatories. He came and visited us for the first time. And on his way out, I said, did you enjoy it? He said, I did. And I said, what did you enjoy most about the whole everything? He said, Jonathan. I said, really? Like, really? He's like, oh, yeah. Like, he's behind the camera. I'm like, why Jonathan? He's like, he is so different than you are. So he understood how hard it is for a father and a son to work together. And he appreciated Jonathan's effort on that and my effort on that too. But Jonathan, he went ahead and when he started working with me, I said, you're not going to be an employee. You're going to own your own company. This is what the rules are. And the rules are if you're a minute late, because he couldn't work on his own. He had to have he had to have disciplines because he wouldn't control himself. And so you're going to come and you're going to show up at the office. He was living on his own. You're going to come and show up at the office at 8 o'clock. If you're a minute late, you get docked 50% of your pay gets docked. What you're being paid gets docked if you're a minute late. I don't care. Snow, traffic, doesn't matter. And he lived with that. I mean, he honored that. And so it's teaching him self-discipline. So I would say you allow him to you have your friend, allow him to set the rules, maybe a little bit more than you'd like, but, less than he'd like. Don't give him some amount of rope to hang himself. And then you say, if you violate this for any reason, I don't care what it is, it doesn't matter. Give him the opportunity to go ahead and have like a boss, real life. Like life doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, you know, and so then you say, and then have him self consequence. And if he doesn't have the self discipline, the self confidence, then you absolutely, the things I can tell you about my children and did I do the right thing or not? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, but we had one of our children said, this is the rules. And it was one of our daughters. And she was 18 and said, this is the rules of the house. And she chose not to go ahead and honor the rules. And I said, you don't honor the rules, girl. And she went ahead and she left. Her choice, your choice is consequences. You're not going to follow these rules. You're going to leave. And she left the house and I didn't know where she was going to go. Like she could die under some viaduct. It's fascinating to me. People say, well, just let your kids make mistakes. I've done that. I've been down there. And it was interesting because Jonathan, our oldest son, he was on his own and he called me up. He said, hey, Dad, I hear that Katrina's, yep, buddy. He's like, do you mind if I take her in and she stays with me? I'm like, no, no. I'm not controlling the kids. I mean, I try to go ahead and help them, not make stupid choices. I said, no, you know what she's like, buddy. So that's on you. So I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't. You're an adult. You're on your own. You're a man. You're paying for your own bills. You're living on your own. You're doing your own stuff. So it's your choice on if you go ahead and help your sister. And he did. And I was thankful he did. I didn't ask him to do it. He just stepped up and he did it. So, I don't know, Mary, and it's worse now than it's ever been with all the vaping and the marijuana and the alcohol and the pornography and the energy drinks and the entertainment and stuff. The dopamine hit, they're chasing dopamine. It's unbelievable. It's just crazy. So my heart goes out to her, but it goes out to, her son more because he's on a path of destruction. And your friend can probably see that and you don't know what to do. And I don't know. It's heartbreaking, Mary. It's absolutely heartbreaking. Anything else, Mary, you got?
No, not right now.
Yeah, yipper. Anita, great to have you on today. Appreciate you joining. Are you on because of the email I sent?
Yep.
So you've changed radically in, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Do you see that change or not?
Yeah, to a certain degree.
And so you're a different person. You're just a different person. You're you give me your change gives me hope for humanity. I'm not being dramatic. I'm like, you have just changed so much. And so just recently you've gone through, so one of the team members in Mary's company, one of the leaders, he's struggling with helping somebody, helping others learn specific versus conceptual. And so I don't know, maybe you could get this one over to him. And so specific learners, they learn one thing, and you might have to tell them two, three, four times. And this person says, "Well, I'll pick it up. I mean, eventually." Now, my son Ben, leads in with a boss. Like he'll just tell a boss, "Listen, I'm." So he struggled in school and stuff. He says, "I'm just going to be slow in picking things up." So he knows that about himself. He says, so he tells people, warns them up front, "I'm going to be slow at picking stuff up, but once I get it, I got it." And he is a machine. Like, so he's slow, but maybe like his dad. But once he gets it, man, does he get it? And he looks for efficiencies and he figures out faster, more efficient ways to do things. And but it's so frustrating. And so people are like, "Well, I'll pick it up whenever." There's no sense of urgency, like patience, the silent killer. And so, how do you get somebody excited? How do you get somebody passionate? How do you get somebody where they actually care about something, for crying out loud? And so, two things that I came to in my sleep last night is, why do people come into our lives and then leave them? And why don't people and friends stick around? And then the second one is, without a vision, people perish. And why is that? So this is just fascinating to me. So people without a vision, what happens to them is they use other people, and they get used, and people use them. Like, it's an exchange of use, I guess. And so somebody gets benefit, somebody else. And why do they leave? Because they think they get everything out of that person. So one of the two people stop growing. I mean, you think about it, why would you ever not be in somebody's life forever? It doesn't make any sense to me. And so, Anita, you go in and out of things. Like there's there's so this is where Kenny's working on, supposedly, like working on making things stick. So, Anita, how do you make things stick? The ratchet principle. So you like, I think when people change, they don't realize how hard it is. Like, I don't think you realize, Anita, how hard it is to change to be to become who you are now. I don't think you realize the significance of that and how hard it's been for you to do that. Would that be fair to say, or not so much?
Yeah, I think that's right.
So, because I'm not old, for sure not old, but because I've had 60 years of life experience, I've seen people in your situation, and they just don't. They don't make it. They just don't. And you push through the 3 feet from gold. You push through. You're listening. You're learning. You're growing, and then you succeed, and then you slide back. And it's just like raising children. It's just heartbreaking for a manager, for a leader. Not that I care. Don't get it. Nobody have the impression I care. It's just, and so, Anita, how do you go ahead and make it stick? And how do you get like addicted to growth? Like, how do you get, I think that's the key. Like, Mark, are you saying you can never plateau? I'm not saying that. Or am I saying you're not going to go and fall back? I'm not saying that either. Like, people, they don't hear the words that I'm saying, and they hear words I'm not saying. It's so strange. And so, Anita, like, and people, you can relate to people more than I can. Like my kids say to me, and they're serious. They're like, Dad, you never had a childhood. You just grew, like when you were born, you were just born an adult. I don't think so. But there's a lot of truth to it, it seems like, maybe. Like as a young boy, as a 5-year-old, I remember doing something as a 5-year-old, and I remember thinking after I did, I'm like, that was really stupid, Mark. 5 years old, and I'm like, that was really stupid. And so, um, questions, Anita?
No, I don't think so.
So I think you got to get, like, if you can get addicted to growth, if you can get addicted to growth, and again, I'm not saying you can't go ahead and hit a plateau, but you don't want to stay on a plateau too long. You just don't, because you get comfortable there, and you're like, okay, I'm comfortable here. This is a good place, and it's like, well, you're going to stop growing, and when you stop growing, and two people stop growing, they become miserable together. And if one of the two stops growing, you know, the one who stops growing is probably the one that leaves. Probably. So let's lock that in. Let's lock that in, and specific versus global, conceptual learning. Because if you can teach somebody, if you can teach somebody to fish, then they'll fish for the rest of. How do you do that? Like how, and Elvin and I talked about this yesterday. And so, Jojo, our 8-year-old granddaughter, she goes with me. She's I asked her at the end of yesterday, she just sits there, heads on the table. She's not disruptive. She sits there and she just, who knows what she's absorbing. And at the end of the time, I asked her, I said, did you benefit from this? I did, Grandpa. Did you enjoy it? She said, I did. I said, what do you enjoy or learn the most? And she said, the girls, the girls can be right and boys can be wrong. Alvin and I looked at each other like we don't even know what we said to do that. And I said, wow, honey, that's awesome. And Alvin laughed and he said, more times than not. Here are two men, 62 and 84, and there's an 8-year-old girl, and she picks up the girls can be right, boys can be wrong. And then I thought, I wonder if she lives with, you know, like she doesn't see that on a daily basis. I mean, she's got two older brothers, so she's 8 and they're 13 and 11, 12. And so, and I had a new compassion for younger sisters that I've never had before. I'm like, huh, interesting. Nora, what you got?
How do you make sure that like the curiosity of kids, like as they grow, that continues?
Yeah, it's a great thing. I think grandpas, seriously, I think grandpas, they're the key. I mean, because not every grandpa, but a lot of grandpas, they go ahead and they just have fun with their kids. Like they can be fun and they can have fun, and it's weird. It's so strange to see, a 60, a 70, an 80-year-old goofing around and having fun and dancing or doing whatever they do. And it's like, and so I think that's one piece. I think it's really important to teach young boys that their curiosity, like curiosity killed the cat. So I think to discipline their curiosity, their energy, and that's hard. But exposing, like JoJo being exposed to here are two men. and they want, like, I think there's something, Nora, about a man who has daughters. At least there should be. A man who has daughters should have a compassion and a understanding of women that men who don't have daughters have. Like, I love when my daughters are right. I wish they were right more often. I do. Like, like I want them to be right. I like to be wrong. Women who have sons are just, they have an understanding of men that women who don't have sons seem like. A mom who has sons, it's like that. It's like she has an understanding of men and boys that women that don't have sons do. And so I think trying to expose, your son to men who have fun and then also are disciplined, hard workers, and careful not to hurt people, and considerate of people. I mean, Lincoln's 3, he can understand consistency. I mean, he's consistent in putting his cars all in line. What about being quiet? Can you be consistent for that? What about not, being too rough on your mom? Like, how about that? What about being disciplined and not talking? Like, so he's learned some things. He's 3. So it's fascinating to see Lincoln around Patrick or Lincoln around me. Like, Patrick's had 5 boys. I have 3. Like, he's just a boy. It's okay, but it's not. Like, what's okay for him at 3 is not okay with him at 4 or 5. And so there's tension, like a violin, and so get him into things like martial arts. Get him into things that, the arts. Get him into things where he can take his creativity, his curiosity, his energy, his passion. Get him into public speaking. Find something that's an outlet where he can take his energy. And people, like, I didn't realize, like, in high school they have drama. There's more girls in drama, and there's a class in high school, in the English high schools, that's drama. Why in the world would you go ahead and teach a bunch of high school girls drama? Like, that makes no sense at all, but it does. Why? It's to learn to discipline the drama. It's to learn to discipline the drama, the energy, to understand this is a feeling, okay, so that they can take on new characters and they can cry and they can get angry and they have all this drama inside of them. So it's not bad, but it can be, just like anything can be. Anything else, Nora, you got?
No.
Appreciate it. Great to have you on today, sir. What would you like to accomplish on the Young Men podcast? Kenny, what would you like to accomplish?
So for like Mary's friend, her son, how do you see an opportunity or take the opportunity and help somebody like that?
So you can lead a horse to water, but can't make him drink, but you can put salt in the oats. And I've known that for 15 years, and I still can't figure out the salt. I think it has something to do with the personality. Something to do with the personality. And so, like boys, young teenage boys, young men, they're going to like fun. They're going to like excitement. They're going to want to go out. They're going to want to do things. And so, how do you go ahead? And so, when you drink, like Jonathan, our oldest son, he died when he was 35 years ago. And a big part of that was drinking. And he never had a dad that drank or a mom that drank, or one side of the grandparents didn't drink. And, he thought he could control it. And it's a big part of why he died. He couldn't control it. And so drinking, Jonathan, he told his brothers, he said, drinking steals tomorrow's joy. And then there's gaming, and gaming is something that, like Xbox and all the gaming, it has the dopamine hit. It has the dopamine hit that, that alcohol does. You know, fast cars, fast motorcycles, um, you know, there's dopamine hit. And dopamine hit on the brain is not necessarily bad, but it can be addictive and it can get out of control. And, like when my 27-year-old son, when he, shimmies out on the ice over the pond, I'm not happy about that. Like, he's not going to drown. But what if Lincoln's there? Like the 3 C's, where it's consistency, teach a young man consistency, and then consideration of other people, and then competence. So if he's out there on his own and he falls through the ice, I don't care. I don't care. But if one of his nephews is out there, if Lincoln's out there and sees him shimmying out on there, then Lincoln's going to say, well, I can do that too. No, you can't, Lincoln. So is he considerate of his, of the people around him? And is he going to take it and put it on Instagram? Is he going to take a picture of it? Is he going to hear about it? And then his young nephews or somebody else is going to do it. I mean, that could cost, his lack of consideration could cost Lincoln his life. Like, that's not that hard to go ahead and connect the dots. It's just not. It's just not. But it seems like young men can't do that. Like, they don't consider, like, maybe somebody can't control, the alcohol, or, maybe the racing or whatever the other dopamine hits are. I mean, skiing, like, there's risky things you can do. And so, but you got to consider the people around you, and then the competence. Just because one person can do something doesn't mean other people can do it. So am I responsible? Do I care about anybody other than myself? So I don't know. It's like doing fun. It's like developing rapport. It's like, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. This is what I found. Like, you're heading down a path, buddy. Like, if you can get somebody with me, like, I've never taken a drink of alcohol in my life, not a drop. And I lost a son to alcohol. Like, kids don't understand. They don't understand the pain. Like, I get to live with that the rest of my life, forever, as do his 6 siblings. Is it really worth it? Is it worth that buzz? Are you really entitled to that hit? And it's gaming the same thing. It's not just like, this is what people don't understand. Mark's saying, no, Mark's not, you think you understand. You don't understand me. You just don't. And so, Luke, what you got?
On the consideration for other people, how do you develop that? Learn to see all the factors. I mean, I don't know if it's possible if you can see all the factors, but like when doing something like,
Try to go ahead and go from seeing one factor to 2. Can you see 2? Okay, once you get 1 and 2, then can you see 3 or 4? I mean, I think, like, I thought people are either ignorant or stupid. Like, if they're, ignorant, they don't know what to do. Stupid is not doing what we know. And so it's like, okay, you want to take the risk. Okay, you can. But the impact on other people, the ripple. I mean, Jonathan, at the age of 9, he comes dancing up, jumping up to me. He's like, Dad, I discovered the domino principle. What's that? Well, you tip over one domino and has a ripple effect. So in life, you make one bad choice, has a ripple effect. 9 years old, he understands that, but he died at 30 because he didn't understand it. He didn't internalize it. He didn't. And so I think it's just you just raise your expectation, Luke. I don't know. You have a vision. You have an understanding that I think most people don't want a vision. They really don't. Why? Because they have some measure of responsibility. Why? Because they think something's going to be taken from them that they don't understand. Like you hang out with, Alvin Miller. He's in his mid 80s. My gracious. Like every week I hang out with him. And it's like, so you get older men that are, 20 years older, 40 years older, 60 years older. You get older men. And then you listen to women. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that, Mary's friend and that son could talk to, Rosanna. Would it go ahead and like Jonathan promised not to drink? Like, I mean, do you have a compassion for anybody? Like, get her. Like, what's it like to be a mom? Like, men are just stupid. They're just stupid. Like, I don't understand it. Like, my mom, like, I adored her. And she did not give me what I felt I needed. I mean, fortunately, I didn't know that until I just thought, you don't get hugs, you don't get kisses, you don't go ahead and you don't get, you just don't. But I still adored her. It's like what's going on with young men these days? It's like they just, like it's heartbreaking. And they're going to treat their wives the same way. But we could have something for women too, and women don't know how to treat their, men. I mean, I admire, I admire women who have boys who come on this call because those are just awesome moms. Those are just awesome. So if we didn't get to come back next week, oh my goodness, there's so much stuff. There's also one that we do Sunday morning at 7 o'clock Eastern time. And so I mean, I'm telling you, there is so much time we're putting in to developing young men and developing models and stuff. Yeah, so much time. So if you pass this along to other people, if you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300, outside the US 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.